gonna take roll, Addison?
Yeah. Okay, so we are recording.
Good.
Woohoo!
Do I need to do that again?
Nope. Okay, are we ready for roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Brennan.
Here.
Commissioner Bennett.
Here.
Commissioner Felt.
Here.
Commissioner Hahnemann.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
And Chair Alkire.
Here.
Okay.
Commissioner.
And me.
Commissioner Padilla.
You get me, Addison?
Yep, Commissioner Padilla. Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
Got it. All right. So I can jump right into it. All right. So we're back talking about the zoning and subdivision ordinance update. It's been, gosh, I think since late summer that we last all met to talk about this. So we've been working on some things with ZoneCo, and we're ready to start bringing some things forward for you guys to review and start giving us some feedback on. So I'm just going to start out kind of giving, since it's been a little bit, kind of an overview of the project and what our goals are, and then I will hand it over to Sean and Michael to talk about the meat of what we want to discuss with you all tonight. So, as I think you've probably heard me say a bunch, our zoning code was adopted in 1970. So as you can imagine, the vision for Edina was quite different at that time than it is today, as reflected in our most recent comprehensive plan and small area plans. You know, the economics around development and the housing market are also quite different than they were then. And so in the last 5 to 10 years, the kind of the issues caused by the disconnect between our code and our guiding documents have become more apparent, and it's made our development review process a bit more challenging. So in 2024, we worked with a consultant to do an audit of our zoning and subdivision regulations and really document what those are. And some of the key findings from that report were what you see here. So the zoning district should better align with the 2040 comprehensive plan land use categories. Simple development projects often must seek approval through a PUD rezoning, since current conventional districts are not well aligned with the 2040 comprehensive plan. The zoning districts are hard to administer and apply to proposed development applications because they're overly specific in terms of allowed uses and standards. And the R1 district's minimum front yard setback, lot area, lot width, and lot depth standards are overly complex and serve as barriers to housing development and are a burden to existing homeowners. That last one is what we're going to discuss a little bit tonight. So the purpose of a zoning code really is to implement the land use vision from a comprehensive plan. We've invested a lot of time, money, and effort into developing the plans that we have, and spent a lot of time engaging with the public, talking about land use and what development should look like, sometimes in very specific detail. However, without updating our zoning to align with that, it's really difficult to see that be realized. In fact, much of what is called for in a lot of those plans isn't legal to do under the current code. That's why so many of the projects that have come forward have had to be processed under a PUD. So I want to just acknowledge that we do have a comprehensive plan update that we're going to be starting next year. And so since zoning updates typically, follow changes to a vision and a guiding document, one question we got is, well, why are we doing this now? Why didn't we wait until after the next comprehensive plan update? Since the code is so old, 95% of the work that we're going to be doing as part of the zoning code update would have to be done regardless. So we think there probably will still be some updates after the next comp plan update, but they should be very minor compared to kind of what we're doing here with this project.
And Addison,
Yeah.
we're outlining the goals. The residential was the last of 3 or 4. Is the intention to come back to the other goals?
Oh, so you talking about what I showed here?
Yep.
Yeah, these were just some of the key findings from the audit report done in 2024. So yes, the purpose of this project is really to address all the issues in that audit report. Here's kind of a summary of the goals of the project. So it's improve the organization of the code, simplify it, improve clarity and understanding, and incorporate graphics where appropriate, update existing zoning districts, or create new zoning districts that better align with the comprehensive plan and small area plans. That's so that we're not so dependent on using the PUD to implement our vision. Incorporate appropriate development incentives for things like affordable housing, public space, and sustainable building techniques in exchange for additional height density FAR. That kind of gets at, we've always used the PUD as like a give to get, but it's not really well defined. Like if we're giving this extra height, or if you're including affordable housing or meeting our sustainable buildings policy, like how much additional FAR do you get? How much it's not really well defined. We want to update and modernize the list of permitted conditional and accessory uses and locate them all in one table, so it's very easy and clear to see what uses are allowed in which zoning districts. Update and modernize the definitions and locate those in one place, and then review and update our development procedures for things like site plan review, rezonings, subdivisions, just kind of as needed. So, any questions kind of on like the big picture why behind this project and the goals before I hand it over to Sean and Michael?
Just for clarity, there's no part of the project that involves changing the map. It's all about changing the code, as I understand.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not anticipating there being a lot of rezoning, right? Like Edina typically has not proactively rezone people when they have not asked to be. A lot of what we're doing is setting up the code so that when someone comes in with a development proposal, we have zoning districts that they can request a rezoning to. That's not to say that we aren't going to tweak the existing districts. Like we do plan to come up with better, names for them, write purpose statements, and review the standards that are within those districts to make sure they align with the goals of the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
So there will be changes to existing districts.
Okay.
So.
Can I ask, because
Yeah.
have you talked around good terminology for affordable housing, because it's such a
Hot topic.
divisive, yes, such a divisive.
Yeah.
Are there ways to talk about it that breaks it down into percentage of income, so it's just not what? Yeah.
Cheap homes, just
I mean,
more
have you- I mean,
attainable,
not- I'm just
moderately
I'm just
priced
asking.
homes, like that. You mean like?
Yeah, or 50% of median whatever, or just.
Yeah.
You can't restrict the rents unless you have a source for the operator to be able to be compensated. Because even if it costs $1,000 a month for me to run your apartment, keep the lights on and manage the building, if you don't pay that $1,000, I don't have a project. So if I'm going to have a unit whose rent is attached to the person's income, there has to be somebody essentially subsidizing the developer and people revalidating on a yearly basis that the people who are renting are income qualified to rent.
So that brings up something else.
Mhm.
Rental units versus, because this is affordable housing, I always think about it.
The only way to make housing the only way to have housing that is affordable by its very nature is to have more supply. And then you have a class B product, right? Not the shiny new penny, but that is more affordable.
And I understand about supply and, right, and how if there's more supply, it comes down, but it's also kind of types of housing. And so, and some housing can be smaller, different kinds of units, like courtyard houses, or splitting lots into smaller sizes,
Yep.
which is like different than apartments, right?
Well,
So
that's
this
part
is
of what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah,
Is lot
okay,
sizes. So
okay.
we'll get into that. So, I guess any other questions then before I hand it over to Michael and Sean? Okay.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
just say, like, in general clarity for especially the new commissioner, is like these project goals are pretty much unanimously supported by the commission, council, staff. Like, there's no, like, it's not really divisive here what we're trying to do. We're trying to achieve what everyone really wants.
Yep.
And maybe there's some like specifics, but in general, if you go down this list, this will help the process a lot for everyone. So this is a long time coming, really. I mean, when you think about it, 55, 56 years.
Sure.
that's like 2 generations, so it's important we do it.
Everything's the same as the 1970s. What are you talking about?
In some ways, yeah.
All right, Sean and Michael, why don't you guys take over control of the screen and take it away?
Sure. Great. Thank you, Addison. Thanks, everyone. Tonight's agenda and our focus is laser focused on the R1 districts. R1 is your single family residential that makes up about 60-some% of the entire city. And to the commissioner's earlier point, one of the issues that's come up is how to determine lot standards. Lot standards affect things like lot size, lot dimensions, and depths and widths and all those kinds of things that then allow for lots to either be split or not to be split. And so one of the things that we've been looking at and studying very carefully using data-driven approach here is how do we regulate for the appropriate lot sizes in the R1 districts. So we know that R1 district, it can't be all things to all people in the community. And so we have some standards on the books now that are very confusing, very hard to administer, require a lot of surveying, and we're trying to standardize the language so that it is definitely responsive to what's going on the ground, but also what's desired by the plans. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michael, who is going to go through a story map. A story map is just like a PowerPoint presentation that will go through these issues. What we're really hoping for you to do is to understand these issues as we present them tonight, ask any questions, and then we're looking for your feedback on whether you think that the proposed solution will address the issues. So Michael, if you could take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. As Sean mentioned, the R1 district is one of the most prominent districts in the city. It houses 92% of the city's residentially zoned land and is the primary district for single family homes. And so the 2 key takeaways there is that the R1 district impacts a large amount of the city, and also that the property owners in the R1 district are going to be the most susceptible to not having access to professionals that can interpret the complicated zoning standards that currently exist in that district. To get into those standards, the minimum lot size right now is 9,000 square feet, where the minimum lot area shall not be less than the median of lot areas in the neighborhood. And then similar thing with the minimum lot width is 75 feet, minimum lot depth 120 feet, and then there's a lot width to perimeter ratio of 0.1. These all rely on complicated median measurements, both in the neighborhood and in the setback adjustment section. There's also mention of adjacent lots and lots within the same block. And so this all leads to property owners requiring or having to get surveys and professional staff out there to measure the median in the neighborhood. And so as I mentioned, that's
Addison, if you want to jump in there and just talk about your experience in analyzing and administering those provisions.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll let you guys keep going. I have some examples that we can run through once you guys are kind of finished. That will show that exactly.
Perfect. Okay.
So, yeah, again, that creates an administrative barrier or burden on the staff, and it also creates a barrier to housing, as relatively simple projects require expensive surveying. So to review some new standards, or to establish some new standards for the R1 district, we reviewed the existing standards and measured them. We reviewed lot size, lot width, front setback, and side setback in 37 of Edina's 44 neighborhoods. The neighborhoods we did not sample did not contain any lots in the R1 district, and we sampled 10 lots in each of those neighborhoods. So our key sampling takeaways, was that there's massive variation between the neighborhoods. A country club, the neighborhood median lot size was 7,369 square feet. And then Rolling Green was all the way up past 50,000 square feet. So pretty clearly there, one size wasn't going to fit all. We also noticed there was a correlation between lot width and lot size, with the minimum lot width getting larger as the lot size grew. And we also knew from both.
And just real quick, the acre, 1 acre is 43,560 square feet. Of course, our architects know that, but not everybody does. So you're talking Rolling Green has more than an acre and a quarter lot size median. And then in Country Club, it's about a sixth of an acre.
Yeah, thanks.
Wildly different.
And then this is something we could tell from the sampling, but we also knew from our conversations with the city staff is that these standards were contributing to what we call setback creep, where the front setback grows and grows as new developments exist and have to meet more stringent and stringent front setback standards. And so our proposed solution was to create 4 lot size sub areas in the R1 district. The first being the A8 at 8,712 square feet. That's about a fifth of an acre. That was to comply with the maximum density for the R1 district as set forth in the comprehensive plan. And then we also established the A10 at 10,000 square feet, A15 at 15,000 square feet, and the A20 at 20,000 square feet. And
this was done to avoid having to create new zones and rezone properties. As we talked about earlier, the goal is not to create a bunch of new zones and districts. So we have to rezone huge swaths of the city. And we're trying to do a lot with the R1 districts. So the sub areas were really the only way to differentiate between these different conditions within the same zone without creating new zones and then rezoning, 40, 50, 60% of your entire city.
Can you?
Yeah, and so to
Sorry,
expand on what that
8,700
mechanism.
Can I jump in quick?
Yeah.
So just to address the A8, why is it 8712? So what Michael said was in the comprehensive plan for our low density residential neighborhoods, so those are the areas that are envisioned to stay as single family neighborhoods, we have a density range of 1 to 5 units an acre. So if we allow lots, if we had a minimum lot size that was smaller than 8712, then that would be higher, greater density than 5 units an acre. So in kind of talking about that with our Met Council staff rep, she advised that we shouldn't adopt a zoning standard that is not consistent with our comp plan. So, because initially what we found was that the appropriate lot size for these areas that are in the A8 category, that 6,000 square feet would be a much more appropriate lot size, but that would be more dense than what our comp plan guides. So our thought here is that we would have this A8 sub-district standard, and then with the next comp plan update, we could address that so that we could allow higher density, not allow higher density, write it to reflect what's already in those areas, right? Because those neighborhoods are already, have lots that are 6,000 square feet. So really it's more of an administrative change with our next comprehensive plan to better allow for this. So following the next comp plan update, as I said, we would probably have other zoning code updates following that. That would be one of them, that we would recommend changing that minimum lot size for the A8 to change it to A6 and make it 6,000 square feet.
Is there not a way to update the comprehensive plan with this?
So we could do that. We could process just a comp plan amendment to change that now if we want to. That is an option.
I just hate to have a headache it's gonna be like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep, that's totally a possibility. If everyone looks at that and says, well, this is silly, all those neighborhoods are already at that density, why wouldn't, then yeah, we could amend our comp plan to change that and account for the type of density that's already in those neighborhoods in, Morningside, Presidents, so that we could have a minimum lot standard that actually reflects what is already in those neighborhoods.
And how is a sub area legally different than a zoning? Because, right, we're still picking areas of the
Yeah.
city that are gonna be A8 or A10.
Yeah, that's a good question. It is just, it's a different standard based on location. You know, we have
Like, I get we
different setbacks based on different locations within the city. We have different requirements for building coverage depending on what your lot size is. So there's still R1. It's just a different standard that changes based on your geography.
Our setbacks are similar, whereas like our setback, like side yard setbacks are determined by lot width, so yours could be very different than your neighbor's, so
Yep.
it's similar to something like that.
Yeah.
When this came up in a lot of those cul-de-sac ones where there were various setbacks.
Yep, we're gonna show, I have an example of that, yep. So that, I just wanted to jump in and address why is it 8712,
Rather than 8,000.
rather than 6,000?
Or 8,000 or something, around
Right,
like the others.
right.
I mean, as we've talked about this kind of thing leading up to this, we always talked about some sort of sub-area something, just because the city is so different in different places.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this seems like a logical proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of follows along with your height. You have height areas throughout the city. Same kind of thing.
Great point.
And we also tied the lot size sub areas to the minimum lot width requirements. So you see the A would have a 50-foot minimum lot width. Addison and I talked this week, and if we were to drop the A to an A6, then that minimum lot width would also become more narrow. And then you 75 feet as you go up to the A10, 90 feet in the A15, and 100 feet in the A20. And these two standards, minimum lot size and lot width, are going to be the main mechanisms through which lot splits are controlled and allowed going forward. And I'll get a little bit more into our research on how this enables or limits lot splits in the city. But our third suggestion for the R1 district is to recalibrate the setback adjustment for front setbacks. As I mentioned, it's currently based on the median along the same block or median along the adjacent lots. And Addison will get more into how that's administered and the effects of that later. But the standard that we're proposing is to just take the set a single maximum or a single minimum front setback in the entire R1 district of 40 feet. That's subject to change, but right now we have it set at 40 feet. And then there'd be an adjustment where if the lots on either side of you, or if there's only one lot on the side of your lot, is less than 40 feet, you can, your minimum front setback is the same as the average of those two lots. So if you have the lot to the right of you is setback 100 feet, your minimum front setback would be 40 feet. If the lot to either side of you is setback an average of 30 feet, then your front setback would be 30 feet instead of the 40 feet. So the minimum front setback creep that we described earlier would hopefully be eliminated through the standard, as the minimum front setback is capped at 40 feet. And so to test the lot width and lot size effectiveness, we sampled 470 lots throughout the city and only found 7 lots eligible for lot splits, representing about 1.4% of the
To me,
lot sampled.
that's the problem, though. Like, we created this so that we are codifying a lack of possibility for expansion within that 61% of the city. Like, if these new rules mean only 2 lots in the end could be lot split.
Of the ones they sampled.
Of
So
the ones they
about
sampled,
1.4% of all lots.
But what I hear that meaning is we are agreeing as a community that we don't want more density within 60% of the city.
Yeah.
And I find that really, 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 really frustrating.
Yeah. We're
That's in
gonna get
R1.
into that.
And that's in R1, and then, I mean, the appropriate time to address it is the comprehensive plan.
Of course.
Yeah.
So like, are we teeing it up to then make adjustments more easily then with this update? It seems so.
Well, we could address what she's talking about now, because the comp plan gives a range of 1 to 5 units an
Yeah.
acre. So like the areas that are closer to 1 unit an acre, we could adopt a minimum lot size that's closer to 5 units an acre. But so that would come with the trade-off of, yeah, we could allow more housing, but it might not be, consistent with like the lot sizes that are in that neighborhood. And maybe that's okay, right? That's gonna be up for the city to decide with this process, cause, you're right. The way that, for now, and again too, like the sub-area map that we put together, just to be clear, it's just a draft, right? It's just a starting point, and, it's to take the kind of complicated, process of like having the lot size be the median, like getting away from that because there's issues with that, and just having a set standard, but not like opening up the floodgates so that like all of a sudden every lot is subdividable. It's still attempting to, set a lot standard that is reasonable for each neighborhood, such that, new lots aren't being created that are wildly out of character and scale with what's there. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
I think the tone of the last comprehensive plan was that the single-family neighborhoods were not going to change. So I think this sets the stage for the next comprehensive plan, so that if the wish of the residents in the city is that they want to change those existing single-family neighborhoods, that the zoning code will kind of set the stage or make the process easier for those changes that are potentially to come.
And what this
Just to provide
also does.
a little more information on what would happen if we change to the A6 standard is that would almost double the percentage of lots. Just changing that one standard, not changing any of the designations of the areas. Just changing that one standard would double it to about 3.5% of the lots becoming splittable. So as the comprehensive planning objectives change for the R1, hopefully this framework would allow for greater density within that R1 district.
And again, it ultimately, like, whether the goal is like allowing more housing supply through this process, like, I guess that's gonna be up for, you all in the council to decide. Regardless of where you land on that, we recommend switching from the standard being the median of all lots within 500 feet to figuring out what is an appropriate lot size for each area. So regardless of where you wanna go with allowing more lot splits or not, we recommend this change. So we'll talk more about what the lot size subject should be, probably later. But we just mostly wanna introduce this concept and make sure you're all on board.
And then we have a map here. The green would be the A20 and the red would be the A6, kind of flowing down from there, with the yellow being the A15 and the orange being the A10.
Did you mean A8 for the red?
Sorry, yes, A8.
But it could be A6. Yeah. That's the one that we would decide whether we do now.
Oh, shucks, I was gonna say 6, 7, but.
Yeah.
A couple questions just as it came up to me here. So you did the analysis, right? And you determined the average lot size for these regions, right? And you came up with the A8 through A20 designations based on that, like square footage. I guess my question would be, that's just the average, right? So there's gonna be a set of outliers. For example, there might be a really large lot in the A8 zone that might, that's just the average for that region, but there might be some individual lots that are bigger. And similarly, in the A20s, there might be a few lots that are really small. So they would not necessarily fit within those areas. Would they be inversely impacted if you were to zone that whole region, subzone it like A8, but I had a really big lot, and vice versa, if I had like a really big A20 lot and I have a really small.
So what this is attempting to do is decide what is a reasonable minimum standard for each area, right? So like, yeah, if you have a lot that is an outlier because it's way bigger than what's there, then this is ideally going to make it, you know, for those lot splits that come to us that they don't exceed the median, but they're still deemed to be reasonable, this is aimed at allowing those. Like if you think of the one that we just did on Madison Avenue, like that one didn't even exceed the median, but there were 12 out of 18 other lots on that block that were the same dimensions. So we're deciding, like, based on what is existing, what would be an acceptable minimum lot size, right? Right now, the standard is the median, so it means 50% of the lots don't meet the standard, right? So we're saying basically 50% of the lots in the neighborhood that's already established aren't acceptable lot sizes, right? So what if it's, so that's 50th percentile is a 25th percentile lot acceptable? If it's bigger than 25% of the lots, it seems like it should be, right? 10th percentile? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay, so good example, right? If we put a standard on these sublots, again, going back to my original question, right? And you had like a really big lot, would these standards adversely impact you? So like setbacks, for example, or side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, would that be something that could be a problem if you had like a really big lot in an area that's zoned where the average lot size is already small?
Because they're capping that. That's what he's saying.
Can I say what you're saying in a different way?
Please, yeah.
I think we'll make, Scott Terrace, all the houses are set back 50 feet.
Yep. So that's a setback issue. That's
that's
different than the lot size issue.
I know it's different than a lot size issue, but I thought you were asking if there were dramatic changes. I mean, it would be a dramatic change on Scott Terrace, this
If
update.
somebody tore down a house, you're saying, and then.
Yes.
This only
Oh, is this
has to do with lot splits.
Yeah,
It has
so-
nothing to do with setbacks.
Okay.
Since
Like
you
this
have
part.
a really large lot
Yeah.
in an area, in a sub-district that allows for smaller lots, you would have the potential to subdivide your lot and meet those minimum lot standards
I right.
by right.
So what we're trying to do is take those ones that come to us that need variances, that we all agree are reasonable,
Right.
and change the code so that they don't need variances. Because those people spend thousands of dollars on
Right.
surveys, engineering, building plans,
Well, then they have to wait
and
3
then they don't
months.
know, and then they don't even know if they can get their project approved, but they've spent thousands of dollars. But if we as a community can look and proactively say like, no, for this area, this is an acceptable lot size, then that takes that burden off of them.
So this is just talking about lot splits.
Well,
So if
this
it's-
is, this is, but we're also talking about changing the standard for, front yard setback.
Okay,
So
so if
what-
I have a really big yard
Yep.
and I tear it down, I could bring my house really close up to the front.
Correct.
No, because there's
40
the
feet.
median of the two neighbors.
We're-
I believe, I heard differently.
Let's just stick with this.
I heard
right?
differently, okay.
We'll go back, are we gonna come back to that?
Let's stay with lot splits.
I guess. Did you guys have more on this to present?
This is the end of the presentation.
Okay. Did you?
One
okay.
thing I'll add on the averages and our sampling methodology is that we looked at both the minimum sample size, the maximum sample size, and the median, as well as the average. And where it was necessary, you'll see some of the neighborhoods have been split into multiple sub areas. If you look at Todd Park, there's multiple. It's trying to recognize that, you know, not all, the whole neighborhoods weren't developed as one cohesive development, but there's, you know, developments with inside neighborhoods. There might be natural features that break them up and lead to different development patterns, even with inside those neighborhoods. So I would say about 5 or 6 of the neighborhoods have been split into multiple different sub areas to try to recognize that reality. We didn't get it perfect. Not there's not no non-conforming lots, and there's not no lots that can't be split, but it's an attempt, and it's a moving target on the exact number.
Okay.
Split.
So, lot splits, but you were also talking about setbacks.
Yep.
And I heard, This is what I heard, I'm just telling you what I heard, that if, you built a house and the new setback was whatever it was, that you could build to the new setback even though the other houses had a different setback, unless,
They were closer than the
Unless they
40.
were less than the minimum required, right, you could get closer. So why don't
Yes,
I run through the
right.
examples quick?
okay.
Alright, are you guys able to stop sharing your screen and I'll run through these?
Yep.
Okay. So they already showed, this is the language of the front setback, they showed you that. So here's just an example on Tracy Avenue, okay? So the house at 6001 Tracy Avenue was proposed for.
Addison, can you share your
Oh,
screen?
yeah, sorry, I didn't know it wasn't sharing.
It's all right.
They just have to envision it.
Let's see here.
Where's the park? Which way's north? Is north up? I just
I
want to make sure.
hope so.
Me
If you
too.
don't do north, that's
Wait,
just.
so you
not
guys
even
can't see it?
contract.
No,
Oh.
Maybe
Should
stop
make a
sharing it.
decision
Is
on
that the, is that the school?
I'm guessing
on
it's
the upper left?
northwest of there, right? That's
It's
the.
60, it's 6001.
It was?
I think countryside
It's just
is
to the
up and to
upper
the
left.
left.
Yeah, that's the countryside field,
Hmm.
and that's the,
That tore up.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, that seems right.
Now can you
there we
see
go.
it?
Yes,
Okay,
thank
great.
you.
Okay. So the house, this house at 6001 Tracy Avenue, I think is a good example. This was a tear down rebuild back in like 2019, I think. So just in looking at their front yard setback in relation to these other houses. So this house is not oriented towards Tracy, so it's not a factor in their front yard setback. Their setback is based on the average of these three that all are oriented towards Tracy Avenue.
Average of what?
I can't see your cursor.
Sorry, 605, 609, and 613. So here's the existing setback of those four houses. You can see 3 of the 4 are all at around 35 feet.
Yeah.
One of them is the outlier. It is set way back at 144 feet. This is how that impacts their required setback.
They have to be
The table.
72 feet back.
Yes,
Yeah.
so 6001 has to be 72 feet back because it is based on the average of these 3.
You're saying if it existed or exists at 34, if they tore it down, they would be forced to move the front of the house back
Yes.
30 feet.
And that is exactly what they did. They moved it back 38 feet.
So they
So
didn't
then
have
what
to
did
deal
that
with the
do?
process.
That increased the setback requirement for 6005 and 6009.
So you're just forcing everyone into their backyards essentially over time. Like the
If
houses have to
if those
be-
back houses are never brought back forward, but yeah, I mean, it's brought closer to the average over time, right? So,
So that's.
Or
the
they could have
setback.
done it by 40. Like if we went through with this proposal.
right,
It would have just been 40.
right.
Yeah, so that's the.
Well, and you see too, that like, look at these 4 houses in a row, look at how like every other, they kind of ping pong, they have a different required setback, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of silly.
So,
I mean, they should have something that's the same.
so 6005, I'm purchasing it and we've decided here that the minimum setback is 40 feet. I can also bring my
All the
brand new
way up.
house up 100 feet?
Yeah, because you could bring it on average, you could do
Yeah.
35 feet because 01 and 09 are average at 35.
So if we set, so what we're proposing is that we just pick a number, because that's what every other city does.
Yep, okay, so
Is you have a minimum setback,
Yep.
and all these houses that are pushed back 150 feet or whatever, they did so voluntarily on their
Yep.
own. And that is how it is in many other cities. You can look at Minnetonka, Wayzata, they have neighborhoods where, you know, they're, like in Minnetonka, in their R1 district, they have neighborhoods where all the houses are at 35 feet setback, and they have houses where they're all set back, 150 feet. But they don't have to be. They could bring those forward to 35 feet.
So we have to be okay then as a city with an evil developer coming in, tearing down a house like 6005 and bringing it up 100 feet closer to the road.
Well, they could move it to so if we picked 40 feet.
Yep.
Okay, then what we're essentially doing is capping, the required setback at
Yep.
40, right?
Yep.
But it can be reduced if the average of your adjacent properties is less than that. So they could bring it up to be, the average of
35.
Yeah, 35.1.
And that's not different how they could do it today.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
if that house was torn down today,
That's true
but
today.
they could take the average of 6,001 and 6,009 and bring it up to 35 feet
Right.
roughly.
What's happening is it's going the other way.
Right,
Yeah.
well, what we're proposing then, under the change we're proposing, is that 6,001 wouldn't be required to push back to 72 feet. They would only have to push back to 40.
It's not just an administrative burden, it sets development off from a logical
Yeah.
step.
Right.
It just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, and I think that's completely.
They can also,
I think
they can
that's
also tear down 6005 and put it back in the exact same spot.
right. And I think that's completely reasonable, right, having a standard and doing it. What I want to see is the other side of that. And the only reason I want to see it is because if that's the case, and if there are people that have that, I just want to be able to kind of tell them that so they're aware of it.
You're thinking like saying Rolling Green, people are 100 feet back, someone could build one 40 feet from the road
Yeah.
and then throw it all off.
Which I think is just one of those kind of unfounded fears, because again,
Yeah, who wants to
kinds
do
of
this?
cities,
And see,
right, on a lot that's 2 acres.
and I'm okay with that, but
200.
that's what I just want to make sure everybody understands.
Right.
So if someone asks the
Agreed.
question, that we can all be intelligent about telling them
Yeah.
what it is.
But yeah, I
So-
mean, a lot of people, they put those houses set back
That
because
is
they
a-
wanted to. That was their
Yeah.
choice.
Well, okay, Scott Terrace again.
Yep.
That's where they were all built by one developer, and then that's the way they all stand. And then because we have that, all the others they're all 50 feet because the 2 adjacents are 50 feet. There's a couple of outliers.
And likely, if you rebuilt, you'd match it. But in this proposal,
Right.
you could
Yes.
throw something off and
Yes.
then, yeah, probably.
So I just wanted to make sure I
small
heard
one,
that
yeah.
correctly. So if I repeat that to someone, I'm telling them the right thing.
So like, here's another example. This one came before you in 2024 for a variance. You know, it needed they were doing an addition here, addition to the garage and living space above. It needed a 116
Yeah.
foot variance. It took up the whole lot, right? Like, these are the ones that
Yeah.
I think are just kind of
Why should we grant that?
right? Yeah, you know, it's because it's the average of all of these. Similarly, Shannon Drive had this flag lot, so it required a 264 foot setback.
Yeah.
There's no reason we should
Oh,
ever
yeah,
have to
that
require
was-
that. You know, at some point, we should just decide, like, we're never gonna make you
Yeah.
be further back than,
And
Yeah.
I would say that
Whatever.
over the last 10 years, I mean, it feels like 1 out of 4 things that comes before us that creates us even getting together for a meeting or stuff like this.
Yep.
That is just really a waste of our time
Yeah.
and staff resources
Yeah.
and the residents'
Yeah.
time and
Yep.
effort. This has been something that's always like been brought up, maybe every other work plan of like, what do we want to do with this? And it really takes something comprehensive.
You know, I think it's just fair for us, because I was really struggling on, like, asking the question. But it seems like this approach would solve a lot of the variance cases that we get. But I think we also have to poke around the edge cases to see if the edge cases are truly edge cases, or if it's bigger than, you know, like a few houses that would possibly have a big issue. With this 40 feet minimum, is this going to be applied, is this standard going to be applied to all the sub-districts or just specific ones?
I think we're thinking, yeah, have a number that applies.
To all?
The
Yep.
sub-districts would only be for the minimum lot sizes and lot widths, so the lot dimensions. It wouldn't they wouldn't affect setbacks.
I mean,
But you could.
we
because you
could,
have
but I
a
don't know
10
that it would
10.
make sense to, because
Yeah.
I don't think there's the correlation there, because like in the A8 sub areas, I mean, like you said, even just in Morningside, like on one side of the street, there's homes that are 80
Yeah.
feet setback, on the other side, they're 25 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, the
You
same
know.
lot, yeah.
But
Yeah, the simple-
just
yeah.
think of in terms of like presentation of data. I mean, if they're all the same, one table
Yeah.
with it all
Then it
is
works.
easy,
Right.
40, 40, 40, 40 or whatever.
Yeah.
Just, that's so much of the organizational challenge of the current code. You're just bouncing around to find what applies to you. It's
Right. But
And you
yeah,
need a
most,
survey to figure out what applies to your neighbors to
Yeah.
apply to you.
most cities have a setback somewhere between 30 and 45 feet. And they have, you know, and again, there are examples of neighborhoods or cities that have neighborhoods where the homes are all set back much further than that. You know, there's plenty of tear down rebuilds in Minnetonka and Wayzata as well, and, you know, I think, you know, it's probably not a real issue of like tons of people tearing down homes on 2-acre lots and moving them way up to like, you know, 30 feet or 40 feet or whatever, where it's gonna be a huge issue.
There were a new subdivision in Edina now, which we don't have the space necessarily for it, but the front yard setback is set at 30 feet.
Right.
Today.
Well, and it always has been.
Yeah, it always has
historically.
been.
So anything that's set back more than 30 feet was done because people chose to do that.
So why would we propose 40, out of curiosity?
Well, we're not necessarily proposing 40. We're just proposing that we pick a number.
We picked a number, and it was just kind of
Yeah.
to account for those outliers that we're talking about.
Right.
There's not many, I don't know how many maybe one that I have in the past 10 years here, like a cul-de-sac that was subdivided or like newly created lot. And I think those setbacks were then, the front yard setback was 30 feet, but I think the 40 was just chosen as a number to kind of a placeholder for you guys to discuss. And
Yeah, we're not like hard on that recommendation of 40. I think somewhere between 30 and 45. And kind of the trade-off there is like the lower the number, right? Like we go closer to 30, and since that's historically been the required setback, like we could do that. That would allow the most flexibility, but maybe the concern you're raising of like people being able to bring homes too close. Like, does increasing that number give people more comfort that, you know, in those neighborhoods where the homes are set back further, 30 is just too unrestrictive and we're not comfortable with that?
Well,
that's kind of the trade-off.
I'd be okay with talking to every single one of those people about 30 foot. I mean, I just wanted to understand it.
Yeah.
And I think in those areas, like Morningside, people are very used to living very close to their neighbors.
And the cars in the street.
And the cars on the street.
So,
And if you owned one of those homes where all the houses are 80 feet setback, I don't know why you would want to pull it way out. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
people want to make smart
Well,
decisions for their own property too.
And
Like,
that's one of the reasons in the large lots, it's not really an issue, because if you've got like a 2-acre lot, you've got an architect and they're gonna cite it in a certain way anyway, it's just not.
so if we
An
went
issue.
through the hassle of doing these sub areas in the districts, I guess to Quincy's point, maybe it'd be good to know like what percentage of lots does 30 feet apply to currently, 40 feet apply to currently, and is there a pattern tied to those areas where maybe it's 40 for all of them, but the A6 is 35 or something, because all of the lots in there are close to 35.
So
I don't know, like it's
So
just,
we have Zone Co's done some of that analysis, where they've sampled like what is the minimum, maximum, and median setback in the neighborhoods. And like I said, in some neighborhoods like Morningside, like it's all over the place. If you wanted to do something different, like where like in Rolling Green or something like that, or Indian Hills, where most of them are probably set back a lot more than 35. I think Rolling Green, you guys did, and I forget what the median setback is there. It's probably like at least 80 feet. or
I've got
something.
it. I've got it pulled up. It's it was 85.4 feet.
Yeah, so I mean,
Just the
we
median.
could adopt something higher if that makes people more comfortable in those neighborhoods.
Okay, I'm gonna throw something else out there too, because we now have a lot of, I'm gonna forget, landlocked basins. Like if there's a hill and it's surrounded by streets and houses on all sides, there is a landlocked basin. And because of water issues, people cannot build as far back into their backyards in just about every other block in Morningside, and I suspect in a lot of neighborhoods in Edina. So the fact that they could have like a 30-foot setback, because I know there's someone who bought a lot, builder who bought a lot on Branson, who's having issues because of all the setbacks and the,
Well, I had
I
that
didn't
one
realize.
house, I think it was on, I wanna say it was Richmond Drive, I don't know if that's right, right across from Pamela Park. It's like a 3rd-generation house, but because the water line had changed so much, like they literally had no buildable area anymore.
oh, that one was an anomaly in the map.
Yeah, but to your point, like, there's other factors now to,
Yes.
I don't see a reason to change it from 30 feet if that's.
So, I mean, this concept is really intended to provide relief for these really extreme examples. And the lower we make the number, like the lower that we set the setback at, the more flexibility we're gonna provide, which can be good or bad.
Yeah, I just want to throw the idea, so what I'm hearing is that we're not picking a number yet for setbacks by some areas, but we can, right? So on A20, we could decide it to be 50, on on A8, we could decide it to be 35 setback, right?
We could do that.
We
Again,
could do
I
that.
think for most of the sub areas, it probably doesn't make sense, except for like the A20, where it's, Rolling Green, or, Indian Hills, like those neighborhoods.
Correct.
The homes are much more
Yes.
set back much further, but in a lot of the other parts of the cities, it's a little more.
It really could be like street
Very-
dependent on, like,
Yeah.
so you'd have to
Right.
really break it down to like lot.
The lot's bigger.
versus-
because it's
yeah.
wider.
Why change it?
Why change what?
Yeah,
The setback.
part of me was like, if it's been historically 30
30
feet for forever, if we adjust it, it's
Well,
one
it
more-
hasn't been 30 feet, it has been the average of,
So
For
again,
new
too.
Subdivisions,
For new. it's
Yep.
over
new
there.
subdivisions, it's been 30 feet, so we haven't had
yes.
many of those in a long time.
Yeah. So a lot, most, I think a majority of them are at 35 in the smaller lot sizes.
Yeah, I think, of all the lot sampling they did of all the neighborhoods, like, the median was almost always somewhere between like 30, 36.
Yeah.
For the vast majority of neighborhoods, except like Rolling Green, Indian Hills.
Again, if you said 40, but the two neighbors are 30, you can
still
do
be
30.
closer.
Mhm.
Yeah, essentially what it does is it just caps
Mhm.
the damage of a really, really big setback being required.
It addresses a lot of process and time.
Mhm.
That would.
Like,
Yep.
I mean, I can't count, so
It's a
many
lot.
meetings that we go through all this and it's like unanimous support.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you could put 35 feet in there. It wouldn't be an issue for,
That's what I wrote down,
Yeah.
35.
Love it. Good compromise, guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's Minnetonka, their
Can't decide.
R1 setback is 35 feet, and they have homes all over.
every survey I've ever gotten there, 34.1.
Something's just not settling in my mind right now.
Well, so, I mean, I guess it'd be good to talk through like, well, what could possibly happen bad with these changes, in total? Like, could someone now easily by right subdivide and cram a bunch of houses on a lot closer to the street? Well, not really, because there's like still the minimum
I was
lot
wondering
width and.
if you're in a Rolling Green neighborhood and you have an 80-foot setback, I don't think this would pencil, but tip the house over, build a new house 40 feet from with the setback, and then build an ADU behind it. I think Edina allows ADUs. Like, is that a
Well, we allow,
potential consequence?
yeah, I mean, we allow ADUs now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So if
So
you
you're
just
not talking
do
about
You're
your
not
house,
talking about
new
splitting
house.
a lot, right? You're just.
No, not splitting a lot,
Yeah.
just, demo your house, move it up close to the curb,
Yeah.
Isn't
closer to the
size
curb.
of
Now you have
ADU
room
capped?
for an ADU. I maybe.
Yeah. So but the size is capped of an ADU, so you can't build like a second large pool house,
Sure.
right, that qualifies as a
Mhm.
house.
Just trying to think of
Right.
one
So
little
in-
angle on it.
in those-
I don't think people would do that, but
In
who
those
knows?
neighborhoods, they're not really the ones that have trouble finding space for the
Yeah,
ADU.
exactly.
It's a lot more of the lots in East Edina that are trying to figure out, how do I fit one on my 7,500 square foot lot?
Mhm.
There was one in Indian Hills that came through for a subdivision, like lengthwise. I don't know if you remember that. Is that one of your examples?
That one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
Shape.
That was
Oh,
a subdivision that you guys
And it-
approved in 2022
It
that,
wasn't fully supported, let's say, by the community or maybe the commissioners either.
okay.
So I'm just in general, like, just to make sure, if you had a really long lot that's wide and you brought the setback up of like stacking houses down the lot.
What do
You
you
know,
mean
like where-
stacking houses down the lot?
Well, just depending, like if there's another street on the backside and now what we're trying, like in some of these areas, like Indian Hills, like someone has a 5-acre lot, they might try to subdivide it 6 times and change the
Well, you-
remember like the fabric of the neighborhood, and some of that was contested. And how does some of this by right even affect that? Not much.
I mean,
minimum lot size?
it would still need to meet the minimum lot size, the
But
minimum
then you
lot
can bring
width.
the houses closer, you know, so then like it'd
Yeah.
be easier to do that type of thing than before. Just trying to be wary of like someone seeing a big lot and now by right being able to like fit 8 houses in there that just had one.
I'm not sure how bringing the houses closer changes anything, because all the lots have to have frontage on a public street. So, I don't see how the setback would change, like how many, it wouldn't
Yeah, I
change
guess
like how
it's
many
probably
lots
just
you
that
can get.
one-off spot where there's the 2 road, like a road on the backside, it was like a through lot.
Yeah, which those are pretty rare.
Yeah, no, so it's just to be aware of like, does that happen anywhere in the
Like,
city?
so like this situation you're talking about?
Not all, maybe, because it goes to both roads, where then now you can get the houses closer to the front, and now you can fit more by right.
It would still go through the subdivision process.
Yeah.
It's just that process wouldn't include variance requests.
Right.
So it would still need to be reviewed, it wouldn't just be like a rubber stamp type of a thing.
Yeah.
So it would
But
still go through some sort of process with the city. It just wouldn't require variances that are associated with that subdivision.
Which if it
Would it
meets
be by
code,
right?
you do have a lot less discretion.
Yeah, yep. So it would still be reviewed, but under how much discretion you have, yeah, it would change.
I just think like examples like you've been showing, and like, let's say, a non-ideal example would be good to show too, of like, what's the worst possible case
Like find
of
the.
you know, just so people are like, oh, this isn't that bad, and then like, if this is the worst case and we can all support it by right, then it just kind of shows the bookends, cause I can see what you're bringing up, and I think other people don't know a lot of this context, so they,
Well,
you know how the papers get with things, it's like, oh,
So you need to put on like your evil developer hat and find the
Exactly.
biggest, like, I mean, in the biggest lot.
well, and I think if you have your evil developer hat on and you buy a huge lot, it's gonna cost a certain amount of money, which means,
$5 million, and you're gonna try to, split it into 2 or 3 lots, and then you're gonna put $1 million house on all of them, like, does this start to pencil?
right, it doesn't, I don't think it pencils.
But I think the point with this is, if we're gonna make a change, we should always try to understand the worst case scenario. And if the worst case scenario is super unlikely, then it's more palatable, right? But at least we're trying to poke around to see where the holes are.
Yep.
I think that's a fair thing to do.
Absolutely.
Here's the other thing about, when you were talking about that, I'm thinking about the 30-foot setback and it allowing more porches in areas where,
More porches?
more porches. In areas that have like 35 foot and they want porches.
Yeah. Will we allow?
bring on the
It's
porches.
a permitted
Well, every
encroachment.
porch that would come in front of me, I'd give a variance for.
Unenclosed
80
80 square
feet, right?
Yep,
80 feet.
Yeah.
is an encroachment that's allowed today. So you can have like posts with a roof that's 80 square feet or less is like an okay encroachment. with
You just
the-
can't have awesome huge porches like you want by right.
I got a variance. for
85
porch.
square feet is too much, so you can't have 85, so you gotta cut 5 square feet off, yeah.
So, I'm sensing you guys are kind of on board with the direction this is
Yeah.
heading. You want maybe us to think more about like what would be worst case scenarios, I guess, like, think,
Yeah,
like
but
try to look at.
Find
It's,
it
it's
one
more
that-
of the, like, the character of certain neighborhoods, like Rolling Green and Indian Hills, like, it doesn't make sense unless the community wants it to like open floodgates in those areas. So like if for an 820, it makes sense to have a farther one, great. If not, it'd just be good to know. I mean, because to your point, like most of the neighborhoods in the city are all pretty standard, probably close to that 40 or less.
Addison,
Yeah.
didn't we look at, in the proposed A20s, we looked at a bunch of lots? Like, because
Yeah, with-
you had numbers that said, you know, here's the average and there's X number of lots.
did.
Yeah, there's
actually.
only,
I mean, we
there's
know,
only five
we know
roads.
that very few of them, under what we've kind of set up here, very few of them could be split with a 20,000 square foot lot requirement
Because they're big.
and a 100-foot minimum lot width,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, he shows a whole bunch of ones.
okay.
But the point is right on, obviously, it's probably, the city council is surely gonna wanna know what they're
Yeah.
getting into.
I don't think that the setback I mean, that wouldn't have any bearing on like how
No,
many
I
additional
was
lots you could get out of a subdivision.
I think
Like,
you're right.
Only if you're facing two streets and now you can push the houses closer. Where if it was on average before 80 feet back, then it kind of limits you from not even being able to do without a
But the
variance.
subdivision is based on the lot sizes. I mean, you'd still have to meet the minimum lot sizes to even do that.
Yeah, I guess just like, is there a variance required also? Like how by right do we just?
Sure,
make the
yeah, I mean,
process?
people
That,
can
that's all.
always request variances, but that's where like you guys can look at it and say no if it's not reasonable.
I would say I'm on board with this, and I also think that if we want to allow smaller sizes, it is a community-wide conversation, and that's the comp plan, so. Back to your earlier,
Changing the 8,700.
down to 6,000,
Yeah,
I think that's a
now.
community comp plan thing, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. I think it's incorrect on some ways to have to have the A8 not be reflective of what actually exists in those neighborhoods. So I would propose doing that comp plan amendment now and not waiting till the 2040 comp plan.
That might be interesting,
Yeah, that's what I do too.
because it's a easy thing to talk about, I think.
There's other times too I mean, it's like when we've done comprehensive plan amendments in areas, what I think people don't understand too is like when we make a change, it like makes a change to that area, not just that lot. And so like there's oftentimes we do these changes kind of reactively to a development proposal. So I think this is more of like a proactive, like clear the way, we're matching what is already there.
It
It doesn't seem too like divisive or contentious.
Right.
It feels like we're treating the
It's
houses
not
in that
reactive.
zone.
Again, it's kind of just a paperwork
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's like, those neighborhoods already exist.
Yeah.
We're just changing the number in the comp plan so that we can have a lot size that reflects what's already there.
Which was the dictate
It's
by
like
the city
paperwork, and I'm like, I
council
gotta talk
a
to
long
my
time
neighbor.
ago, is how can we match a comprehensive plan to the zoning better, and I mean, this is like exactly what we should do.
Because the other side of that coin is that you're gonna create a whole bunch of non-conforming existing lots.
Right.
More than we have now.
Which they are now, yeah, because right now the minimum in those areas is, 9,000, which is basically,
So basically every single one.
yeah.
So
We just have a lot more, the same amount, basically.
Right, it would not help those neighborhoods at all if we were to just move forward with this without amending the comp plan and changing it to 6,000.
paperwork.
I think that's what we should do.
Perfect.
Quick question on the boundaries. Are those boundaries the neighborhood lines?
Some of them are, so that was kind of how we started, was we looked at breaking these up by neighborhood into the different sub areas. And so we set it that way, but then as we kind of dove into it, we realized some of those neighborhoods were very different. So that's why some of them are broken up. So that's why those boundaries do not follow the neighborhood boundaries exactly. There's like 5 or 6 of them that have 2 different sub areas or 3 sub areas.
But they follow the existing conditions.
Yeah, right. It's intended to match what's there. So like the lot sizes we've assigned to these sub areas are intended to, match what's there and what's appropriate for that area.
The little red area, I think, was that Todd Park, kind of looks like a middle finger.
Yeah.
That
that's
is,
a more
that
positive way to
that
look at
tells
it.
you where your brain versus
It's
my brain.
like, it's 3 houses that extend all the way out to the creek. They're like they're marsh properties.
Are we, by having such a weird sub-area, like the weird census tracts, like are we gerrymandering in a way just with that one particular area that could create,
I think you'd keep those yellow and not do them red, or wait, red because they are closer to the street there.
red is smaller lot size?
Yeah.
So that is around the park, so then they did exclude those 2 long ones to the left.
So our GIS staff made this.
Mhm.
So the lots that you see with like the X's,
Yep.
those are ones that do not meet the standard for that sub area. So they're below that minimum. The ones that are the dots, those are ones that are double. But the ones that are double, again, that doesn't necessarily mean they could be split, because they'd still need to comply with lot width.
So what was the thought for making the protrusion to the north versus just taking it, what is that, Division Street, and keeping red on the south and yellow up top?
Well,
Why
it's
did
a
we
park and
include
then
it?
it's a marsh.
Because they are under,
Or are
They're
those
only
not
houses
lots in
that-
yellow?
No, that's the
those-
park to the right.
What's to the left?
The left is the creek marsh. And then there's like two, what you don't see is like next to those two hashtag ones.
Yep.
That's like a city lot. The two next to it are houses right up on the street that go back like 400 feet into the Minnehaha Creek marsh.
If the city thinks that's the right way, I just, since it was a weird anomaly, I just was flagging that.
They
for
basically
consideration.
snuffed like 8 houses
Got
built
it.
on the marsh, and they
Yeah.
flank the park.
Yeah.
And you're not building anything else anywhere because
They
the
were
city
in-
owns the rest.
yeah, they were included in the red, because they're
Is it
less,
to be
they're less than
included?
10,000.
Otherwise, they're not included in houses, yeah.
Realize.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what,
Cool.
what other, what do you want us to come back with next time? What other information do you feel like you need?
This is great, by
It
the
is
way.
cool stuff.
Like, great work, and to everyone involved. I mean, just where we're going is exactly what we've been wanting to do on behalf of the city, make it easier to do things that are logical, and then save the city money and time, and the residents, most importantly. Like, you know, if you want to do something with your land and it makes sense, like, you shouldn't have to spend all this extra money to go through this unnecessary process and feel like we're doing our job. It's great. Nice work. Data, colors look good,
So
right?
is the next thing to sort of approach load density or the language around what you can build in R1, or what's the next step for zone code?
What do you mean by that? Like,
As zone code continues to go through, I thought part of this was we were going to have more categories so that when we got to the comp plan, we could be adjusting appropriately.
oh yeah, I mean, we'll have more work sessions where we're talking about other zoning districts outside of R1, so yeah.
So I guess that was my question, is what's next?
Well, I think probably we'll start introducing the new zoning map and kind of how we want to kind of reconfigure some of the existing districts to have them match the comp plan. So we would maybe introduce that at the next work session.
I guess just one thought of like thinking forward to what the zoning code and presentation is gonna look like. I know we talked about more pictures, references. I mean, is something like this gonna then be an easy tool for people to access?
Oh, yeah, I think
Right, so-
if we adopted this, like, this could easily be on our website.
Yeah.
Just like we have an interactive zoning map on our
Yeah.
website.
Just the more of that kind of stuff, and so like, just working on in engineering and construction, there's a lot of times codes are written intentionally vague to allow the inspector, the authority having jurisdiction to have discretion. We really
Never
don't
happens.
want that in this type of thing. So, and that's usually why they avoid pictures and tables, things that make it really clear. So if there's things where we're trying to display minimum lot width, like having examples in this would be very good.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we don't like it when it's not clear either.
Let's make our job easy.
The stuff that's not clear is what sucks all of our time. So like, again, making this stuff more clear is gonna make us more efficient.
Yeah, so when you have that table and then you see this map, it's like, okay, you kind of understand everything at a glance, which
Right.
is,
Well, we have people call us all the time saying, hey, I'm interested in splitting my lot, what, can I? And it's like, well, you don't know, you gotta go survey all the lots within 500 feet to find out, and so you gotta go spend it's like, now we could
You
just,
tell us if you
yeah,
can
we
sell
could
it.
just,
Yeah.
they could easily know what their lot size, lot width, lot depth requirement is, and have a pretty good idea of whether it could be done.
I just want to clarify one thing, because I want to make sure we're giving you that you're getting, that the feedback is coming across. Because I think I heard pretty good consensus on wanting to change the comprehensive plan at the same time, amend it to allow smaller than AA. But I think it'd be just good to make sure that everybody's nodding their heads to that, because I think it's pretty important for us to, it's a big difference if we do that or not do that.
Yep. So this same stuff that we're discussing right now, we're gonna discuss with the council on April, I think, 7th. So we'll get some feedback. We can kind of pass along that you guys thought that might be appropriate to do now.
To make it an A6 now.
Yeah.
And we just have to be like cautious of like, if we pack it in there and then that doesn't prevent everything from being approved, like what has happened previously.
Yeah.
Will this get rid of, I know in some places your second story has to be set back differently than.
That is for a future day
Okay.
to discuss. We will definitely talk about step backs and setbacks for.
That's mostly a side yard setback.
Yeah.
So the other thought I had, just random, is like messaging on the front yard setback. You could call it the backyard preservation ordinance, because our current code is causing people to have smaller backyards than they
I like
probably
that,
want.
actually.
Yeah, that's good. Good mark.
It's threatening American backyards.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And what if you have a
Grill.
heritage backyard?
Yeah.
And
Has to be preserved. Here's a big fine.
I actually think that's really kind of brilliant.
I think it could work.
I do remember when we've tried to make changes that like we're all, like it's logical, and then the newspaper prints something like, we're trying to reduce engagement in meetings. It's like, no, we're trying to make this better.
We'll do our best to try to make sure we're
You can't really
consistent
spin
and clear about
backyard preservation.
Yeah, how could that be bad?
Right. Yeah.
Be against that, I dare you.
Yeah.
Analyze this more, and can we just email you if you have any questions?
Oh, yeah, think about it, yeah, because I know a lot of this we threw at you tonight, and you're hearing a lot of it for the first time, so, yeah, definitely, and you know, we'll be discussing it again, so.
I found I think it was like an Excel chart that you guys, you shared with the subcommittee that had each neighborhood and like the number that currently complied versus would comply.
Yeah.
I found that really helpful. I know the new ADA thing is a pain in the butt, but if that was something that could be shared with the council in their packet,
Yeah,
I thought it was really helpful.
yeah, we will definitely provide that, didn't want to get like too in the weeds tonight, but, what's that?
When are you talking to council?
The 7th.
April 7th, so.
Meeting or work session?
At a work session, so I mean, since you guys are the committee, if you wanted to be there, I think that would be fine. You can give your endorsement.
This is great stuff, Addison.
This is.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate the
Thank you.
feedback.
We don't need to adjourn these meetings, do we?
You should probably just say it's adjourned.
Meeting's adjourned.
All right.
No,
We
you have
vote
to,
on it.
don't we have to vote on it?
I don't think so.
No.
After a work session.
I object. Guys,
It's cold in here.
it is, we have to go back outside.